Hello, Marcel here, and I just wanted to quickly go over the pouring glasses sample scene, which is available to download on our website for Lucid Physics plugin for 3ds Max. This scene is set up in a way where you have a ball of water placed inside a jar, and this jar is animated to pour this water inside three of the glasses that are present inside the scene. So I have already pre-recorded this. However, after you download the scene, it will not be recorded, so you will need to press the record button first to get the simulation going. And the recording happens pretty quickly. It's just going to take maybe 2 minutes to go over the whole timeline and record the animation. So as I mentioned, I have already recorded the scene, and as you see, the water first splashes inside the jar, and then it goes and pours inside each one of the glasses and ends up on the table as well. So if I play this back in real time, you can see that the water is pouring back and it's looking pretty good. I just wanted to go over the parameters that I used to get this kind of watery effect at a small scale, so you can reproduce it in your own scenes where you need water to be poured into things in your particular scenario. So first things first is the scale. The scene is actually pretty accurate scale, so this glass is about 20 centimeters tall and the rest of the scene obeys the proportions. So the water sphere itself is about 10 centimeters in radius, so it's 20 centimeters in diameter, and this is something that a normal world setup like this would have. The water object itself has a Lucid modifier on it set to fluid, and there is nothing else special about this except for the meshing properties, and I have modified this to be a granularity value of 0.4 instead of 2, so that we get some nice details when we finally mesh this. And I just meshed this object by unchecking the show as particles option. If I play this back now, you can see that instead of particles, we are actually getting a mesh rendered inside of our viewports. And I will switch this option on whenever I need to render the scene. So besides this granularity change, there is really nothing else special about the Lucid modifier. And most of the parameters are changed inside the flex settings. So the global flex settings are modified firstly to increase the resolution of particles. By default it was 30, but I increased it to 40 to make it still pretty quick to simulate, but at the same time not so detailed that it will take a long time for a sample scene. So in this case it is about 130,000 particles inside the scene. I have also adjusted the distance to shape parameter to make it slightly larger. This ensures that the particles are pushed off the walls of our container a little bit and they do not penetrate the container while being simulated. It is important to change this parameter if your particles are escaping the container during the simulation, because it allows the physics engine a little more distance to catch them from going through or tunneling through the object. I have also changed the substeps and iterations parameter, so we have fewer substeps to make the water more liquidy and less viscous, and iterations are up again because we are moving this object. I have not touched any of these parameters, but I didn't check the automatic property and set the speed. It took me a little while to play around with this parameter, but I found that an option of 100 preserves the stability of the simulation while at the same time allowing the water to be poured pretty quickly and without any seeming drag. So if you increase this parameter too much, it's going to actually cause the particles to start jumping around and make the simulation unstable. But if you decrease it, the water is going to act as if it is being dragged through space. So essentially this parameter limits the speed of the particles at which they can travel through space. An option of 100 gives us the effect that we desire. I have modified the gravity a little bit from 980 to about 500, and this is again through the trial and error process to get just the effect that I wanted. Luckily in Lucid the simulation of particles is pretty quick, so resimulating and checking how we modify the simulation is not difficult or painful at all. You just resimulate, wait for 1 minute, and then adjust the parameter if you need to change it again. Some of these parameters have also been changed. I have added some cohesion to the particles so that they are more sticky between each other, and I have made it a little bit viscous but not too much, so a value of 0.01 gives us just the right effect. I have added some dynamic friction, but I did not add any adhesion to the scene, so the particles are not sticking to the surface and instead they're just kind of sliding along and stopping, which is the effect we would expect from water to have. If I had some kind of sticky liquid, then I could increase the adhesion parameter and then the particles would actually stick to the sides of the walls of my container, my glasses, and the tabletop that we have inside our scene. The jar object is a hollow mesh and that has a Lucid modifier on top, and it has the body type of convex. But one important thing to note is that I have used the quick segmentation parameter to make sure that this body is segmented before being used as a collision object. Without the segmentation, this whole object will be used as one large convex object and the water would never be able to collect inside of it. And because this object is convex, we can animate its transformation and it behaves as we want it inside of the scene. Just for variety, I have changed the three glasses to all use the collision body type because these objects don't really move, they stay static. And the tabletop is also using the collision object, again for the reason that it is not moving. The scene itself uses a V-Ray renderer that I set up very quickly with basic materials and the sunlight, but this is not really important to the physics demonstration of the scene. So as a last note, again, if you want to change the properties of the water, for example, if you want to make it seem more like a glue substance or more like sand or maybe even something heavier or lighter, you can always go to this flex settings object and change the parameters such as particle friction, gravity, and even the max particle velocity to alter the behavior of the simulation. But most important of all, just go and download the scene and open it up, play with the parameters, and get a feel for how they affect the end result of the simulation. And if you have some kind of project where you need this quick and dirty water effect, feel free to grab the scene and repurpose the objects and all of the settings for your needs. Thank you very much for watching.